Sometimes the greatest burden we carry is actually the fortune we're too blind to see. Jake Morrison was 26 years old when his grandfather died and left him 180 acres of apple orchards in rural Washington state. Everyone at the funeral called it a blessing. Jake called it a curse. While his college friends were climbing corporate ladders in Seattle and San Francisco, living in modern apartments with rooftop bars and dating apps, Jake was stuck managing an orchard that barely broke even. His grandfather's old farmhouse had peeling paint and drafty windows. The plumbing made strange noises. The heating bill in winter was astronomical. After paying seasonal workers, maintaining equipment, and dealing with unpredictable harvests, Jake cleared maybe $35,000 a year. His friends were making six figures, driving new cars, traveling to Bali and Barcelona, posting their glamorous lives on Instagram. Jake drove a 15-year-old pickup truck and spent his weekends fixing irrigation lines. "I'm trapped," he told his best friend Marcus over a video call one Sunday evening. Marcus was living in downtown Seattle, working for a tech startup. Behind him, Jake could see the sleek modern apartment, the city lights through floor-to-ceiling windows. "I can't even afford to move to the city and get a real job because I'm stuck managing this orchard. I'm basically a poor farmer because of this inheritance." Marcus tried to be supportive, but Jake could see the pity in his eyes. "Can't you just sell it, man?" "And do what? It's just old farmland. Might get $400,000 if I'm lucky. That's not enough to start over with. I'm stuck." Every night, Jake would sit on the porch of his grandfather's house, looking out at the endless rows of apple trees, feeling like his life was slipping away while his friends lived the dreams he'd given up. The breaking point came when Jake's ex-girlfriend Emily got engaged. She'd left him 2 years earlier because she couldn't see a future with someone who'd chosen to be a farmer. Now, her engagement photos were all over social media. Her and her fiancé, a software engineer, on a beach in Maui. Jake stared at the photos on his phone, sitting alone in his grandfather's kitchen, and felt something inside him crack. He was 29 years old, broke, lonely, and stuck on land he'd never asked for. That week, he decided to sell everything. He'd take whatever he could get, move to Seattle, and start over. Maybe he'd be a few years behind his friends, but at least he'd have a chance at a real life. He called Sarah Chen, a real estate agent his grandfather had known. "I want to sell the orchard, all of it, as fast as possible." There was a long pause on the line. "Jake, do you have any idea what that property is worth?" He laughed bitterly. "It's just apple trees, Sarah. Old farmland. Maybe $3,000 an acre if I'm lucky. So like $500,000 total." Another pause. "Jake, I need to come see you. Tomorrow? Can you wait to list it until after we talk?" Something in her voice made him nervous. "Why? What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, just wait until tomorrow, please." Sarah arrived the next morning with a laptop, a folder full of documents, and an expression Jake couldn't quite read. They sat at his grandfather's old kitchen table, the same table where Jake had eaten breakfast for 3 years while feeling sorry for himself. "Jake," Sarah began carefully, "when was the last time you had this property appraised?" "Never. I inherited it 3 years ago. Grandpa's old appraisal from 2005 said it was worth maybe $400,000. Why?" Sarah opened her laptop and turned it toward him. "This is the new interstate extension that was approved last year. See this route?" Jake looked at the map. The new highway ran right past his property. "And this," Sarah continued, pulling up another document, "is the commercial development that broke ground 6 months ago, 3 miles from your western boundary. Tech companies, distribution centers, residential developments. Your grandfather's orchard is now prime real estate in one of the fastest growing corridors in Washington state." Jake's heart started pounding. "What are you saying?" Sarah pulled up a spreadsheet of recent land sales in the area. Comparable properties, agricultural land with highway access in developing areas, are selling for $25,000 to $35,000 per acre. Your 180 acres, conservatively valued at $28,000 per acre. She paused and met his eyes. "Jake, your property is worth approximately $5 million, maybe more with the right buyer." The kitchen went silent. Jake heard nothing but the blood rushing in his ears. That's impossible, he whispered. But Sarah was already showing him actual sales data. The farm 2 miles south sold for $4.2 million. The 200-acre parcel near the highway exit, $6.8 million. The patterns were clear. Jake Morrison, who had spent 3 years feeling like the poorest person he knew, was sitting on a multi-million-dollar fortune. How did I not know this? His voice cracked. How could I not see this? Sarah's expression was kind but firm. Because you were looking at your annual income, not your net worth. You were comparing your salary to your friends' salaries. You never looked at what you actually owned. Over the next hour, Sarah laid out his options. He could sell the entire property to a developer for $5.5 million. He could sell 100 acres for $3 million and keep 80 acres of productive orchard. He could lease portions for commercial development while maintaining ownership. He could partner with developers on a profit-sharing model. But the number that kept echoing in Jake's mind was the first one, $5 million. He'd spent 3 years hating this inheritance, feeling trapped, watching his friends succeed while he felt like a failure. The whole time, he'd been wealthier than almost everyone he envied. Sarah, he said quietly, I almost sold this for $500,000. I was going to take the first offer I got and run. She nodded. I know. That's why I needed to see you first. Jake didn't sell, not right away. Instead, he spent 3 months learning everything he could about real estate development, land investment, and asset management. He hired consultants. He talked to developers. He studied his options with the intensity of someone who'd almost made a catastrophic mistake. The transformation in his thinking was profound. He'd spent 3 years seeing the orchard as a burden, something holding him back from the life he wanted. Now, he saw it as the foundation of his future. He decided on a hybrid strategy. He sold 60 acres to a commercial developer for $2.1 million. He invested $1.5 million in a diversified portfolio that generated steady income. He used $300,000 to modernize the remaining 120 acres of orchard, new equipment, efficient irrigation, organic certification. He leased 20 acres to a solar energy company for $45,000 annually. He kept 100 acres of productive orchard, but now the operation was profitable, efficient, and he could afford to hire full-time help. Within a year, Jake's financial picture looked completely different. $300,000 in liquid investments, $45,000 annual passive income from solar lease, $80,000 annual profit from the modernized orchard, 120 acres of land still appreciating in value, worth approximately $3.5 million. Total net worth, roughly $4 million. But the biggest change wasn't the money. It was Jake's entire perspective. He renovated his grandfather's house, not to sell it, but because he finally saw it as home. He stopped comparing himself to his friends in the city because he realized he was measuring success by the wrong metrics. He stopped feeling trapped because he finally understood that assets aren't prisons, they're opportunities. 6 months after Sarah's visit, Jake met Marcus for coffee when his friend was visiting family. Marcus pulled up in a new Tesla, but the conversation was different this time. Man, you seem different, Marcus said. Happier. Jake smiled. I am. I finally figured out what I have. You mean the orchard? I mean everything. 3 years ago, I thought I was poor because I looked at my bank account and my salary. I never looked at my balance sheet. I owned millions in assets and felt broke because I was comparing my income to yours. Marcus looked confused. But you're still farming, right? Yeah, but now I understand it's not about the annual income. It's about the total value of what I own and what I can do with it. The orchard isn't a burden. It's the best asset I could have asked for. I just had to stop feeling sorry for myself long enough to see it. That conversation marked something profound for Jake. He wasn't just wealthier on paper. He'd fundamentally changed how he thought about wealth itself. 2 years after Sarah's revelation, Jake stood on the porch of his renovated farmhouse, looking out at the orchard. The sunset painted the apple trees in golden light, and for the first time since inheriting this land, he felt genuine gratitude. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Emily, his ex-girlfriend. She'd heard through mutual friends about his land deal and wanted to reconnect. Jake smiled and deleted the message without responding. That version of himself, the one who measured his worth by someone else's validation, was gone. He thought about the past 5 years and the lesson he'd learned the hard way. Wealth isn't what you earn, it's what you own. Net worth matters more than income. Assets have value even when they don't generate immediate cash. But the deeper lesson was about perspective. For 3 years, he'd seen his inheritance as a burden because he was looking at it through the wrong lens. He'd compared his salary to his friends' salaries, his lifestyle to their lifestyles, his apparent poverty to their apparent wealth. He never compared his net worth to theirs. He never looked at what he actually owned versus what they owned. And that blind spot had made him miserable despite being a millionaire. The orchard hadn't changed. The land had always been valuable. The only thing that changed was Jake's ability to recognize what he had. How many people, he wondered, were living the way he had? Sitting on valuable assets, a home, a business, investments, land, but feeling poor because they only looked at their paycheck? How many people were comparing their income to others' income, never realizing that wealth and salary are completely different things? Jake pulled out his phone and called his younger cousin Tyler, who had just inherited their uncle's small vineyard in Oregon and was complaining about being stuck in the middle of nowhere. "Tyler," Jake said when he answered, "before you make any decisions about that vineyard, I need to tell you a story. It's about a guy who almost threw away millions because he didn't understand what he had." Jake Morrison spent 3 years feeling like the poorest person in his friend group while sitting on a $5 million asset. His poverty wasn't real, it was perceptual. His burden wasn't the inheritance, it was his inability to recognize its value. The lesson isn't just about land or investments, it's about understanding that wealth takes many forms, and the most dangerous poverty is not knowing the value of what you already possess. Income is what you earn, wealth is what you own. Most people confuse the two and spend their lives chasing something they already have. Don't measure your worth by your paycheck. Don't compare your salary to someone else's lifestyle. Don't mistake being cash poor for being actually poor. Look at your balance sheet, not just your income statement. Understand your assets, not just your earnings. See what you own, not just what you make. Because sometimes the greatest fortune you'll ever receive is the one you already have, if you're wise enough to recognize it. If this story changed how you think about wealth and success, you're not alone. Every week here at Tales by Cathie, we share powerful stories that teach financial wisdom, emotional resilience, and the mindset shifts that lead to real success. Subscribe now so you never miss a story that could change your perspective, or even your life. Hit the like button if Jake's lesson resonated with you, and share this video with someone who needs to hear that they might be richer than they realize. Drop a comment below. What's one asset you own that you've been undervaluing? Let's start a conversation about recognizing hidden wealth. And if you want more stories about business success, leadership wisdom, and financial breakthroughs, check out our Financial Wisdom Stories playlist. Each tale is designed to shift how you think about money, assets, and true wealth. Remember, you might already have everything you're chasing. You just need the wisdom to see it. New motivational stories every week. See you in the next one. This is Tales by Cathie, where stories teach the lessons that change lives.